So what I want to go over is a way to help you add extra exercise variation to what you might already be doing. So some things that we can't necessarily change right now in our programming is load. That's going to be something that's really hard to actually change, especially if you're stuck with maybe one weight or no weight at all. We might be limited to exercises too. For example, some of us might not have benches. Some of us might not have barbells. So a lot of us are probably pretty limited in what we can actually do. So I'll use the lunge as just an example of how we can change other training variables. So if I was going to do a standard lunge, I'll do a reverse lunge. I could just go backwards just like this. I would just be doing a reverse lunge, okay? So you can change the biomechanics of that. And by changing the biomechanics of that, you can change which muscles you're actually targeting. So for example, I could do more of a hinge-based lunge if I was going like this. Smaller step back. We'll notice much more focus on the hamstrings when we go like this. I could even do a lunge that's going to be more quad dominant, like this. So if I'm letting my knee go further forward, I'm probably going to be targeting my quads a little bit more. So we're just changing joint angles to change the exercise just a little bit. You can also, of course, do things like side lunges. So those would be ways to change that exercise as well. In terms of another variable that we can change tempo, okay? So for example, I could decide that I could go super slow eccentric, so that might mean that I'm going like this. Going really slow. I could decide to do that whole entire thing really slow and really focus on feeling that in my quad. And even just by going at that pace, I'm really feeling my quad work. I'm really focusing on the muscles that should be working. So we can go super slow reps. That's one thing that you can do. Probably wouldn't normally prescribe that if you have access to more load, but it's just something that you can definitely incorporate. So that's slow up, slow down, slow up. So that's tempo. You can also change range of motion. So I might do pulse lunges. So pulse lunges I'm never coming all the way up. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. We could also just do isometric holds. So for example, that would be in addition to an exercise. You can make your exercises more explosive. You go here and actually jump up when you do that repetition. That's one thing that you can do. You could do that on the same leg. You could go alternating. So that's something that you can do with that. Other things that I've had people do in terms of the explosive form of the lunge is actually just go where only one foot comes up, then alternate. So we're going to alternate just like that. That's a pretty challenging combo to do. Another thing you can do is you can combine, if we're sticking with combos, I could always just go regular lunge, explosive lunge. Other things that I could do, I could go regular lunge. Let's say I'm doing that for 10 or for 10 seconds. I could go right into pulse lunges. And then I could go into iso holds. So those are all ways that you can make exercises a little bit more challenging. So again, if we're changing tempo, that might be one thing that we can change. So that would be, again, slow down, slow up. That's one way to create variation. We can change the biomechanics of the movement. So if I was going like this, and then I decided to go like that, that's a modification on the lunge. What you can also do is you can go combos. So there. You could do any number of combos. I could go regular reverse lunge. I can always go reverse lunge to like a runner's lunge. And then hop up like that. So that actually leads into the next point. We can change the speed of the movement in terms of being explosive. So you can hop up off the ground in the lunge. That's another way to modify that exercise. So there's a lot of different ways that you can modify exercises without necessarily having more load or without having more equipment.